This is TJ Legacy, host of the Soapboxx Podcast. The live stream will start shortly, but make sure you like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and tell all of your friends and family that the most infamous podcast on all your streaming services is about to go live.
TJ, what's goody? It's HB. Can I just big you up real quick with what you're doing with the Soapboxx? Listen, anytime somebody takes their platform to educate and inform the culture of hip-hop with politics, pop culture, doing what you're doing and being responsible with your platform, I can't do nothing but salute you, TJ. Keep doing what it do. Keep repping for the culture. Nothing but love and respect for me, baby. Peace.
Tell me what's really good. It's Peter Rosenberg, Hot 97, ESPN, WWE, Cheap Heat Podcast, all that. Big shout out to my peoples over at the Soapboxx, all right? My man TJ, Legacy Cole, the whole Soapboxx crew. Incredible new podcast, all right? Politics, pop culture, hip hop, even wrestling on occasion. It's all there. So go subscribe and make sure you tune in to the Soapboxx. TJ, what up, man? Appreciate you.
Peace to the planet. Charlemagne the God here. What's happening, TJ Legacy Cole? Salute to you, King. Salute to the Soapboxx Podcast. The Soapboxx Podcast is an independent black media podcast, and they talk hip-hop, politics, pop culture, mental health, social justice, a lot of my favorite subjects. Check them out, man. Tune in, subscribe to them. You never know. I'm out here looking at all the different podcasts that are moving and shaking out here because, I got the Black Effect Podcast Network, so I'm going to be checking y'all out, TJ. All right? Keep working.
Their entire life to get to a point to where most men only dream about. I think you guys need to focus and channel that energy on some more real problems, like the way we are as black males and the way that we look. And Steven Jackson, maybe you could put that motherfucking blunt out and pull your pants up on your ass and put that rag down and act like a grown ass man instead of a little ass boy. Becky with the good hair, go to counseling. And Gilbert, you already knew. I was quiet on you for years. I wasn't gonna say nothing. You the right hand arm of them white boys. You niggas is the worst nigga. You took food. You took down there. What did I get? 3 years, 25 with the Lakers. I was slotted to get 80, 88 because what a Tyson got. Nigga, you took millions out my mouth, nigga, and you shout like you somebody, like you love black folks. You the whitest black boy I ever know. So y'all niggas miss me with all that, nigga. Whichever one of these white folk paying you niggas to come at me, this here one, you niggas better go find you something better to do. Becky with the good hair, you need counseling, boy. All that goddamn rage for no reason. She chose, nigga. She chose.
Yes. Hey, welcome to the Soapboxx Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Legacy, and I'm joined, of course, with the family. We got all the way from NYC, my man Alan York. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Peace, y'all. Man, it's a wonderful day. Playoff basketball. We have playing games. The weather's breaking, so I don't have nothing to complain about. For real, and if I did, I wouldn't tell y'all. How y'all feeling?
Where yo, I'm feeling good, feeling great. I'm over here drinking some of this tropical Puerto Rican rum that I got, which is
in a thermal. Oh, what is that?
It's not a thermal, it's a cup, man. It's just that little cups that you get. But anyway, what's going on, Lady of the North, all the way from Boston, Brockton, Massachusetts, the whole state. What's going on, Jesse?
What's popping? Just being a mom, I'm tired.
Ooh, I heard that in the what's popping. I heard what's popping, y'all. What's up? So tired. It's just becoming a struggle.
That's real.
For real.
You good? We gotta get a battery in your back. Like we gotta get you. Yes. So how's things been going? How's things been going with the newborn? And you got two small ones as well. So
it's not bad. He's a good baby. He sleeps through the night. Like literally, like he'll go to bed like 10 and then he won't wake up till like 7:30 in the morning. So that's pretty dope. Other than that, the other two boys, man, boys, they're a lot. Okay, they do the most. They do too much, but I love them, so I can't complain.
Word. And all the way from Tallahassee, Florida, short hair don't care. What's up, Just Giovanni? How you doing?
What's up? I'm happy to be alive. Like,
what's going on with the ladies on our podcast? Y'all going through it? Shit? I'm just happy to be alive. I'm just here.
I'm happy to be alive. Like, but everything is going good. So, so far for this week, and looking forward to next week. I have a birthday coming up, and I'll be the big 27. I know I'm a lot younger than what you all thought, but yeah. So I'm excited.
Word. Oh, I would ask you your plans, but we know not to ask Giovanni her business on this podcast because she'd just be like, I'll let you know after the birthday. I'll let you know on my 30th birthday what I did on the 27th birthday. Okay. Real G's move in silence. Yo, shout out to Soapboxx Nation already checking, and appreciate y'all for everybody who listens to us on our channel, on our YouTube channel, whether it's our streaming services. Shout out to you. Make sure you follow us on our social media, Soapboxx Podcast. That's Soapboxx Podcast with 2X. Yeah, we appreciate y'all, tuning in, chiming in. We got more supporter. Good evening, y'all. New viewer and supporter. What's up? What's up, Lisa? Hey, yes. Shout out to Lisa, because I know Lisa definitely is a staunch supporter of the New Blurred Order podcast that is on Saturdays with our play cousins over at the New Blurred Order. But we appreciate you tuning into the Soapboxx Podcast and checking in with us. Yo, so for those who are new, because we know we have either new listeners or new viewers, the way we do it, Soapboxx, we basically talk about any and everything, general news show where we can just rap about what's going on, things that you want to know. But we need your feedback because that is what makes this show so much better. All right. So as y'all saw in the beginning, actually, I think we're going to do celebrity selfie first. How about that? Y'all good with celebrity selfie?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. And I just saw Jesse.
I'm sorry, you said what?
I said I just heard and I saw Jesse take a first sip of that wine. So we definitely gonna get right into that.
If Jesse's drinking, then celebrity selfie is gonna be lit. Let's hit it.
Okay.
Now you know how when LeBron goes to start the game and he throws the powder up in the air, that's what Jesse is with the red wine. So we
Jess, you got red too? I got red today too.
Oh, Jamal! Let's get it. Alan, you drinking? Hey, cheers on the podcast. Let's put the cups up. Hey,
I gotta know.
That's the photo. Yeah. Word. All right, look at it. As the new listeners are like, oh, are they just drunks? Yes, we're just drinking on the podcast. All right, go ahead. Celebrity selfie. Jesse, hit us off with the first one.
Yes, well, we'll start with Kim Kardashian, the whole Kardashian gang, because they cool. I like them, you know what I'm saying? But let's talk about Kourtney and Travis Barker. In a relationship now. He is a drummer from Blink 182. Oh, look at her. She's so cute, whatever. So, as you guys may not know, he was married to the lady you see right down the left. And she claims that one of the Kardashians is the reason why they're not together no more. So when referring to this, people initially thought that they were talking about Kourtney, but no, they was actually talking about Kim. So she stated that she saw them having an affair, and that's what broke up their marriage. And like, damn, now your sister's dating him, so that's kind of fun.
You said fun?
Yeah, like I wonder how the dinners are with all of them. It's a little awkward.
Well, I wanted to ask, and I know, Alan, I'm gonna remove us from the feed. I wanted to ask, and I'm gonna throw this question out to the ladies so they can have a conversation. But I'm gonna throw the question out. what is the girl code when it comes to male dating proximity? Like, as a guy, if you are dating a guy, how long is he allowed to date one of your friends if the years have passed? Is he allowed to date one of your sisters?
No. No.
What say you?
No, that's
No,
totally
it's a
off
no for
limits.
me.
Go ahead, Giovanna. You can go first.
It's a
Take it
no
away,
for me.
girl.
You know what? I feel like stuff like that happens more often, but usually the people, they don't end up, you're not going to be friends anymore. Or if it's your sister, we clearly not sisters, like,
Period.
because I know you're not about to go sleep with somebody who I've had a long relationship with, and it's a no for me. It's just definitely a no for me. But another thing is, I feel like we got to be really careful sometimes when we in relationships where, like, you know how sometimes how dudes will try to claim you, like body claim you, like, oh yeah, I had her, and will mess up another relationship that you trying to talk to another dude or like their friend, and it's just like, no, you didn't. You chilled with me one time, but we wasn't together.
Right. No, so if I bought you that drink, you belong to me now. If I bought you that drink at that club that one time.
TJ, you
yeah, no.
Oh, but yeah, like, you know how sometimes people will claim a relationship, but it wasn't a relationship. And so I feel like you gotta let it know. You gotta be. I don't want to date anybody, even if my friend was hanging out with them for longer than 3, 4, 5 weeks. Like, I'm not
girl
interested
code.
in you. If you ever tried to talk to one of my friends, I'm not interested in you. If you ever did anything with my friends, I'm not interested in you. But sometimes you have those friends that's like, well, you ain't really date him, or y'all wasn't really together. And it's just like, okay, like, cool, we're not friends then. Like,
right.
Because
I'm
not putting up with it.
That's a hell no, hell to the no. If I dated you or if I had any type of feelings for you, you are off limits to any of my friends. My friends are off limits to you, especially if it's family. That's super weird. Like, no, you're not touching him. No, that's like, who does that? Like, who does that? I'm sorry, but that's girl code. Like, you don't, unless you're like over the person, or unless it was like, you know, like a quick little, oh, I kind of like him, but you know what? I really didn't like him like that. Like, you can have him, like, take him. I really don't care. If you genuinely don't care and you give that blessing, then okay. But if you had like real feelings for this person, hell to the no. You're wilding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll be hurt. I will be hurt. I'm not even gonna lie. But I asked a lot of questions. Like, did you know, or did you not think we was that serious, or you just didn't really care?
If you guys are cool, then they know.
They know. Okay,
they
know. But at the same time, with the Kardashians, I feel like they always have a plan. They aren't just sleeping with anybody. So we don't know what the real situation could be if Kim had to step in.
Right, but Kim probably gave the blessing. Like, maybe it was not. It was back in the day, so maybe it was just nothing. Maybe it was just, you know, they was just having fun, and Kim doesn't care. Like, she doesn't care.
They like, hey, go get that bag, sis.
Right, like she doesn't care. I mean, I feel like if she felt some type of way and you still approached him or you still was involved with him, then that would be wrong. Like, if your sister was like, I really don't feel comfortable with this relationship, and you know, you chose to stay with him, I feel like that would be fucked up because your sister is telling you how she feels. Right. But I mean, if she don't care, then what if you just smashed and there was no chemistry? Like I said, if your friend is giving you the blessing, then okay, like, it's okay.
Yeah, so you need the blessing. You need the blessing.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, you need, and don't be trying to do no grimy stuff like, well, he was trying to talk to me, so I wasn't the one who approached him. Really?
You know what's happening. Come on.
Just kill all that. Just kill all that. Okay, Alan, what you think?
Alan, you got a question?
No, well,
thank you, ladies, for that.
Because when you all started, you guys were talking about, you know, if there was feelings involved, and, you know, of course there's a protocol, but it doesn't seem like that was the situation with the Kardashians. I mean, from what we're gauging, it looks like it was purely physical back in the day. And then fast forward, then now, you know, another one of the sister has a serious relationship with them. So I would assume that may adjust the rules and regulations in this code, correct?
No, because what may just be sex to a man, the woman could still have feelings maybe that she doesn't really express, you know, like she knows the relationship is not going anywhere, but they still continuously have sex. But when you find out that your friend want to have sex with him too, then the feelings kick in and you be kind of like, hold up, like, I told you that I didn't really like him like that, but that was my bugaboo. Like, you're not finna, you know, that's my play toy. And you taking away my play toy.
Ooh. But wait, even if the situation was years removed from each other and y'all are not play toys no more?
Listen, all I'm saying is women get offended by things like that when it happens. Unless you already know. See, it's all about intentions. It's all about intentions. If you went into that intention, that relationship saying, oh, I'm going to play him. We're not really going to be together. This just going to be a thing. We're going to have sex. But then you see somebody else that actually want to be with him and actually create a relationship. And now your intentions have changed to, oh, well, I really liked him and loved him. Then, you know, I'm just saying it can be that way. And so I would just say it's just easier to just not even go down that route because mindset change.
But don't update the terms and conditions because I got a better offer somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens.
I done signed the contract, and the terms are what the terms are. You can't see someone else offering me a better contract and be like, "Nah, I'm about to amend this." That don't even count anymore. You know, TJ, I know you had a question.
Listen, man, I didn't have a question more so than the same. I'll form it into a question. Okay, scenario time. All right.
Yes.
So what if we were talking, right? Or you were talking to a guy, right? Y'all were dating for, let's say, about a month, off and on, went on a couple dates. Y'all got a little physical, but it was nothing that was really too much of a, you know, serious where it got into a relationship.
I'm sorry, TJ. Just to be specific, what is a little physical?
Yeah,
because I don't. Yeah, please.
A piece of sex. A piece of sex. Okay, so you had sex probably once or twice, right? You and this person. Within the month, you had sex once or twice. Months down the road, possibly a year, 6 months or more, 6 months or more, this individual meets one of your homegirls and they hit it off where he's actually trying to get to know them and actually try to, you know, date them, and they start going on dates. You as a friend, do you step in and you veto that relationship and tell your friend, like, yo, I used to talk to him. Like, yo, that's a no. He's off limits.
It's about like I said, it's all about the blessing. It depends, like, how that genuinely felt. Yes, it depends. Like, if I felt some type of way for that dude, like, if I really felt some type of way, you're going to know about it because you're my homegirl. So I told you about it. Like, I told you how I felt. If I'm not telling you that I had strong feelings for this guy or whatever, and down the line you hook up with him or whatever, you ask, like, is it cool? Go ahead. I don't care. But if I have strong feelings for this person, or if we are involved in like a stronger type of way, hell no, like, that's off limits. You cannot do that. That's nasty.
So what I'm hearing,
weird.
What I'm hearing for the guys, for the fellas, let me break this down to you in sports terms. What I'm saying is, if the team releases you as a free agent, there's a no compete clause, right? There's basically like, look, I don't want to be with him anymore. I released him to the wild. I'm dating somebody else. As long as my homegirl and I have a conversation, you cool with it. But if the dude ghosts you after having sex or hooking up with you, and now he's trying to talk to your friend, now it becomes like it's a bigger problem. Am I getting that right? It depends on how the breakup or the separation of the situationship, how it actually happened.
No, it depends on how you felt for. It depends on how you felt for that person. If you have
no feelings in the dating game.
Yes, there is. There's always feelings, unless you the type that really doesn't give a fuck. I mean, there's people out there who will have sex with somebody just because they want to have sex, and they don't catch feelings. There's people out there who catch feelings. And if they get involved with somebody, it's because they have some type of chemistry, some type of connection or something. You have to have that conversation with your friend.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. That's how I feel about it.
Guys don't do this. Guys usually, I mean, if you smash one of my friends, then you're automatically off limits, like for life. Like no guy wants to get married to the girl who his homeboy, but unless there's a special circumstance where you're like, yo, this is something that could possibly turn really serious. But then we just have like waiver wires. You gotta, there's like a draft pick compensation, some sort of. There's got to be something. Am I wrong, Alan? There's got to be some sort of conversation. To be like, yo, this situation. But I'm of the impression that there's so many damn people in this world for friends to be overlapping on who they're having sex with, let alone family members. Like that's shit's.
Like, come on.
I'm sorry, but I can never touch anybody that my sister touched, and she knows better. I'm sorry. Like I said, that's weird.
But you know what? I will say this. I am hearing that guys are being penalized for getting good dick reports. Because if a guy has a good dick report, then automatically girls are like, because y'all will brag to y'all friends, and y'all friends will be curious because y'all will sit there and be like, yo, it was on point. But then when your friend gets a little handsy and wants some of that herself, then it becomes
that's
a problem.
weird. That's the type of friend you have to watch out for. Because if I'm sitting here, I'm telling you about a dude that, like I was really feeling him and the shit was good. And now in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, like I want to know what that feels like. That's a friend you got to watch for, because what the fuck? There's plenty of guys. There's plenty of guys in the world. Like, why are you going after what I'm going after or what I have? Like, that's weird.
Pretty much. Oh, well, let me ask y'all this, because this was in the news. Now that we're on the subject and we're just kind of spitting right now. I don't really watch the show, but the Real Housewives of, I think it was Atlanta or one of them, the Real Housewives, right?
Oh,
Portia is now, she is now engaged to one of the castmates' ex-husbands, and they were like, cool. So is she violating? Is there like a penalty for violating like girl code?
Cool? Who said cool? Who said that?
They were cool. I said they were cool.
Oh, I thought you said that they were cool about her marrying him.
No. Everybody on social media has basically been like, yo, this is kind of messed up. But Portia seems like she don't really care. So how do y'all handle a situation like that? Because I think at that point, guys just stop being friends, like, period. There might be some fisticuffs. I don't know.
Like, I had a situation like that. I mean, not the same. Obviously, I was a lot younger. I was in high school, and I was dating this dude. And like, I really liked him. I liked him a lot. And I had a girl she was like one of my closest friends, probably one of my best friends in high school. And when me and him broke up, she started dating him, and we were on the same basketball team. Like, I literally walked into the weight room. We had practice, and she was like, they were all like on top of each other, and I'm like, yo, this bitch. I stopped talking to both of them because what the fuck is that? That's weird. That's different. Like, how do you do that? I'm sorry, but people are different. I would never.
And don't invite me to the wedding because I'm not coming.
You just said no. Return to sender. I don't want
that shows you, like, sometimes the people that you think are your friends are not really your friends. But then I don't know, because I can see things from like different lenses, and I'm able to.
But what if they're in love?
Different. That's what I'm saying. I'm able to see things from different perspectives. So like at the same time, it's like, maybe he was for her and he wasn't for me. Maybe like he needed to meet me so he could meet her, or whatever the case is. So I could see things and understand things like that from like different perspectives. But at that time, like I was really young, and I really wasn't feeling that, because it's like, okay, if that's the case, then cool. But don't sit and want that shit in my face. Like, we on the same team, and like I walk in and see y'all, like, that's grimy. You know what I'm saying? But like I could see it from different perspectives too. Like, sometimes what you think is for you is not for you, and sometimes like the people that you meet, it's for other people to meet them. And I know that sounds weird, but I've been in so many situations where I've seen stuff like that where I was okay. Like, after a while, I was like, that's fine, obviously, because I done moved on.
Sure.
I feel like,
go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah, I agree with Jess, except mine was the opposite, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the same, but I feel like when I was younger, I would be pissed off, like, if I found out that one of my friends was talking to somebody that I liked. Because that had happened to me when I was in like high school, and I was just like, "We done, period."
Wait, so, talking?
Right.
Yeah,
talking,
like
or like
somebody who I like. Also, my one of my very, very close friends had also started liking this person, And so I was just kind of like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not rocking like that.
Yeah.
You can't stake claim, but you can't stake claim on somebody just because you kind of you like them.
This was in high school. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Oh, so now you just like, brush your shoulders off.
But right now, as I'm older, I do realize, like Jesse was saying, that that could very much be the case, but you may not be that for that person. So what I've come to realize is like, okay, cool. It's not necessarily like I may think you like this grimy person. I'm just not going to be associating myself with you in that relationship, because it will be fake to make it seem like I was not me and this dude who you're dating and kissing and slobbing on, that we also weren't dating, kissing, and
doing the same shit.
Like,
exactly.
So I'm just saying, like, and I know it's like, okay, well, that's you don't have to think about it. Yeah, you always gonna think about it. Like, right. I don't care what nobody say. You're gonna think about it. Anybody who you've had any type of sexual relationship with, once you see them again, it's like, oh yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. Like, and it's like, oh yeah, you my homegirl and my friend, and you telling me girls just like dudes share good conversations, and as my friend, you want those conversations to continue, but now the conversations are going to be fake and limited because you're no longer going to tell me about you and him. And it's just like, if you don't feel comfortable enough to talk to me about your relationship, then you really don't trust me. So we really shouldn't be friends.
Yo, Alan, I know we need to move. Go ahead. No, I was gonna say, I know we need to move on, but I'm so fascinated by this conversation because the girls are on one. I wanted to ask her. So, when a guy that you're dating or your boy, so do you share your what happened in the bedroom to guys that you're dating, or is it off limits when it's a guy in your relationship, or y'all tell it all to your friends?
What do you mean?
When you're talking to your friends, do you be like, yo, my man put it down last night, and y'all going to do it, or is it
all that? No, you ain't getting the tea. No.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I don't talk.
I'm saying amongst women.
I personally don't talk about my sex life to my friends. I mean, like, I just feel like that's everybody's business. Like, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with it either. Like, I feel like if maybe there was like an extraordinary night and like you just want to tell your friends about it, like tell your friends about it. But like, I don't tell them about like every little thing. They don't tell me about every little, because there's things that should be kept personal. There's things that not everybody needs to hear. You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, like if it's like, damn, I would just tell you because I got to tell somebody. Like, that's okay.
Word.
I agree.
Word. But, hey, listen. If y'all, go ahead. You had the last word, Giovanni?
Oh, I was just about to speak on another topic.
Oh, no, I just wanted to let our Soapbox Nation know. Listen, if y'all like that segment, trust me, we are building up because we are going to have on the Soapbox within probably a couple weeks or whatever. We're going to get these episodes in with the four of us. But there will be, we had the shop talk with the fellas. There will be an all women's Soapbox podcast panel. I guess we're going to we call it Shop Talk. We'll call it Beauty Talk or Shop Talk 2. Hosted by Giovanni and Jesse, and they will be joined by a slew of other women who will be talking shop about relationships and sex and all the things that the guys talk about. And the men, it will be our turn to submit questions to the ladies to figure out, to ask them questions directly. So it should be a good, pretty good episode. It will be the first Soapbox episode without hearing my voice. So I am actually, that's pretty cool, for those who need a break from me. Giovanni, go ahead. You want the next story?
In general, I think in just a general topic, anytime that you can put yourself first in anything, even if it means losing people, it could be positive and negative at the same time, but if that's what makes you happy, I'm saying move that way. But for the friend who may be on the other side, you also don't have to continue that relationship with the other person. And so I just wanted to end on that note and speaking of that, while also just the simple fact of speaking your truth and owning whatever it is that you're going through. We have drum roll. I don't know if it should be a drum roll because it's a sad and positive story at the same time. But Billy Porter is speaking his truth and owning things in his life. Can we talk about Billy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so first off, the positive. Y'all want to hear the good or the bad first?
Let's hear the bad. And then end off
so
the
y'all want to hear the
good.
bad first. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Billy Porter, I know you all know him. He is very, very known for being the queen of LGBTQ community, killing it on the runway, great actor, all of that great stuff. I mean, honestly, I love Billy Porter. He's amazing. Or you know, I don't know what we should say. I don't know how to say it these days. But
You talking about pronouns? You just confused.
Right.
Like, I don't know. No, for real, you don't know.
Stay away from it.
Okay,
But,
go ahead.
Yes, Billy, yes. And he announced that he has HIV.
Yeah.
He's HIV positive. That's the bad news. But here comes the positive news. He will be on Cinderella as the fairy godmother.
That's the good news?
You said what?
That's the good news? That was the good news?
Yes, that he's going to be the fairy godmother. Isn't that
Is it animated or like a live version, like the Moesha one?
live? Like he's going to actually be impersonating live, like the Moesha one, not cartoon character. Well, and I'm pretty sure I didn't see anything about animated. Have you all been hearing about it?
No, I think it's actually live. I think it's live.
It's gonna be live.
Okay.
Live action.
And so, there has been a little controversy, of course, and then there are applause. So we are going to have our first gay Black Cinder Godman, and people.
What was that you just said? What was it? Cinder Godman?
Cinder Godman.
Yo, I swear, I can't keep up with the English language. I'd have never heard that word ever in my life. I just figure out these non-binary and all these pronouns. Now we have sender what? What kind of transform? What are we saying?
Genderella.
Genderella. Is that what we're calling it?
That's hard.
Yeah, I think we should call it Genderella. How y'all like that?
That's fine.
I like that.
All right.
I like that.
Hey, if you like it, I love it.
All right, so we have Genderella, and it's going to be Billy Porter, and I know he's going to do a fabulous job. But would you let your children watch this? And I know me and Jesse are the only ones with kids, but if you had kids, do you think this is kid appropriate? Should children be exposed to this a Genderella? Now, like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, what do you think they're going to be thinking when they see him with sparkles and diamonds and a dress with lipstick on? You think more little boys are going to be inspired to be Genderellas?
I have a feeling.
I'm sorry,
Alan, you wanna tackle this one first?
No,
I'm gonna let everybody go around the horn, but because I have my.
Well, I was
feelings,
pausing because I definitely wanted to hear your opinion, only because you said, "Is that good news? Is that the good news here?" So you definitely have an elaboration that you would like to do. For me personally,
I just caught that.
Yeah, so for me personally, I don't necessarily care one way or the other. And when I say that, not that it's indifferent, I'm just saying that, and of course, as a person who doesn't have kids, I wouldn't necessarily mind them seeing that. Like, I'm not one of those people that feel like, seeing a person who may be flamboyant is going to necessarily overly impact children. I do feel like children are very simple. I feel like children break things down and understand things in a very uncomplicated way that adults tend to overcomplicate, but just because of the amount of experience and life experience they have, the amount of opinions that they take in, a lot of times from their elders or older adults. I think that the earlier that we are introducing these type of things to kids, the more acceptant and the more less violent in regards to any sort of bias they will have against communities, the LGBT community. So on my end, I don't necessarily have, I don't have a strong angst or issue with it at all. I do think it's good. Like I said, kids are extremely intelligent, and I think I think a lot of times we can be a little bit, of course, some people feel as if it's protective, but I do think at the end of the day, it's like, being protective to whom? Because you could be trying to protect someone while harming someone at the same time with your preconceived notions in regards to that. So shout out to Billy Porter.
Shout out to Billy Porter.
Yes.
TJ.
I don't like it, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like, I think that there's definitely a widespread, some people call it an agenda, or I just see it in the media and stuff all the time, where there are constant images of effeminized Black males specifically. And I think that if you are, it's a two-part thing, right? So let's talk about the HIV thing, because I think that's an important conversation. I commend Billy Porter for speaking out and living his truth and putting it out there and say, because I don't think he didn't necessarily have to, right? Because he also talked about being diabetic, and I have diabetes, and I too used to have diabetes as well. And so, like, I get living your truth, and even if you are your sexual orientation, live your truth. That's fine. But when we start, I don't like, and here's my thing: when we start catering these conversations to children, I think we gotta. It's a cause for pause for me, right? Because if you look, I don't know what what Billy Porter's pronouns or how he necessarily identifies himself with, but if you look at it and you say, okay, well, if he says that he is queer, right? If he's queer, or if he says that he's bisexual, right? Let's just say that, right? Isn't a 4 or a 5 or a 6-year-old going to ask, well, what is that? Even if they're being taught in schools. And so now we're having that conversation. We're introducing, now we're supposed to be watching a fairy tale kids movie, right? So now we're having this conversation of, well, what is a bisexual? What is a queer person, right? And we're talking about sexual orientation. And so, you can't, like, why are we having these sexualized conversation with children? I think I'll even put that with heterosexuality as well. Like, there's certain things that children don't need to know. They don't need to know what you're doing. Like, our show is not geared towards, even our podcast is not geared towards children, because we talk about a lot of adult type of conversations. And so when it's not about creating a safe space for the LGBTQ community, because trust me, I believe the LGBTQ community has a safer space in this country, especially the white LGBTQ community, than you do the Black LGBTQ community, right? Because when we talk about the discrimination and the things that these communities face, it's not coming from Black folks. And I know a lot of times we hear, oh, the Black folk community is just homophobic. Well, we're not the ones creating laws to discriminate against this community. And you have racism and discrimination within the LGBT community of itself, right? And we could save that conversation. But when we're talking about him, Billy Porter, and his opportunities to, it's like whenever the dominant white society decides to select who are the representatives of Black society, I have an issue with that. And you start to ask yourself, why? We talked about this with Tamika Mallory, right? And how it chips away at her credibility. Why are they choosing you out of all the other activists, and it kind of chips away at your grassroots credibility? Now, Bill Porter is coming out and he's saying that he has HIV. And when I heard the story, I went to the CDC, right? Which is, what is the correct acronym? Which is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so they said they did a study in 2018, and it's right on their website. You can go to CDC website. It says Black/African American people made up 42%, 16,002 of the 37,968 new HIV diagnosis in the United States, and independent areas. Among those, right? It was male to male contact, and they say Black African American men are more susceptible to contracting HIV if they are engaged in if they are bisexual, and this is right on their website, right? Bisexual or homosexual activity, right? It's right on the website. Anybody can fact check me on that. So if that's something, it's one thing to live your truth, but then as a public figure, if you're telling people, well, this is the lifestyle, well, some people have the discussion whether it's a choice or whether they were born this way, right? I'm not going to get into the minutia, but this is who you are. And you're projecting this to children, right? To say, hey, you can this is who I am. And then the kids are curious, like Alan alluded to. Kids are curious. Okay, so what is that? Okay, well, am I that? Maybe I should try that. But then you're looking at the statistics of the other side and the dangers of contracting HIV when it comes to Black males. I don't want to see that young Black children go down that path. And why is it that an effeminized Black male is the one that gets more opportunity than heterosexual Black males in the dominant white society? There's a reason for that. Let me finish my point, and I'll go to you. So it's okay to live your truth, right? And you can have the role, but as far as having these conversations when it comes to adults, fine. But why is it that, and this is my issue with the LGBT community and their awareness, right? Because is it awareness, is it tolerance, or is it y'all better listen or y'all gonna get canceled for having an adverse opinion, right? And why is it that things, when we talk about political advertising or messaging, why is it that your advertising is, and it's what Alan alluded to, why are you targeting children? To me, I can't wrap my head around that. I think some conversations are left for the adults and the parents to have with their children, especially when it comes to sexual orientation, sexually. I don't even think they teach much in schools. Forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong, about sexually transmitted diseases, right? In schools, I'm thinking they've kind of shied away from that more so, right? If like, why am I having a conversation in school with a 5-year-old about sexual orientation, and some of these kids don't know about there, and there. They don't know, they don't know some of the basic stuff. We don't even I did my taxes this weekend. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, nobody taught me this shit. And I'm sitting there on TurboTax, got to file the damn thing. I'm like, why are we teaching more financial literacy? Like, there's other things. Yeah. I'm not saying that these conversations are not important to have, right? But when we're talking about someone's sexual orientation, I don't believe anybody should be discriminated for who they are as a human being, right? And I think that's the conversation that we as Black folks are constantly having. Like, yo, I'm a human being. We're seeing the conversation with Israel and Palestine, where I am a human being, and this is the way you're treating me. But when you're like, hey, I want to interject you or introduce you to what I do in my bedroom, y'all don't even want to talk to y'all homegirls about what you do in the bedroom. So why would we have a conversation about that with a 4 and a 5-year-old? Alan, go ahead.
So, I mean, it's a lot of things to kind of like unpack there with what you were saying. And then they kind of do all string along with each other, right? So let's just go with what you were saying in regards to children and regards to, you don't have an issue with just like these concepts maybe should not be introduced so young. So I think the first thing that a lot of people tend to do and is automatically drive like homosexuality or bisexuality to sexualization, right? And I do think that, of course, sex being a part of romance and love is the extreme visual that we get when we're talking about these things. But essentially, when we're talking about people being introduced to different lifestyles, we shouldn't be like, you're introducing sexualization. You should be like, okay, we are introducing that these certain type of people love each other romantically. Because once you start talking about it like that, you don't have to be like two men or two women are having sex with each other.
But kids are gonna ask, Alan, what do you mean? What do you mean romantically? I'm friends with Chad. Are we romantically involved? Like that? No, kids, trust me, I've been in the school system. They're gonna ask these type of questions.
I understand that, but it's the same way that kids ask when they're X amount of years old. You know, where do babies come from, right? Like these are not new conversations. Like conversations about intimacy aren't new. So the fact that all we're doing is expanding the conversation from the stork or whatever parents have been bullshitting their kids about until they are of age to figure out what sex and intimacy is. All they have to do is expand the where's the baby coming from to, you know, possibly a same gender relationship, you know, and that's not as hard as people make it to be. It's really not. It's like I said, especially with children, one. So two, when you're talking about representation, right? When you're talking about who's being represented for young Black males, right? And why are you feel like these, maybe a certain lifestyle is being portrayed to young Black males, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, that, as well as even if you're looking at, you want to, speak about the HIV rate, all of that is tied into each other. So as much as we want to say this type of person, the effeminate Black male is being propped up and represented right now more than ever, in comparison, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, we can't ever say that as men, as straight men, as someone who could, even if it may not be in a political position, we can at least say that as straight, quote unquote, manly man, we can still look at Hollywood to see us being represented and having those type of relationships, heterosexual relationships. We can go to watch sports and see, all right, this is somebody like me. He plays sports like me. He does XYZ like me. Even though it may not be, in comparison to other races as much as many, as far as on a quantity standpoint, but we can't say that it doesn't exist, right? So I take myself out of that equation because I can look at, entertainment and see someone, quote unquote, like myself, even if it's not as much as I would like to see. So I say that the way that I look at it is like, okay, there may be a young boy who's struggling with himself and not know who he is, or he knows who he is, but since he doesn't see it, whether it be represented on TV or it's not spoken about in the household, or if it's spoken about in the household, it's spoken about in a negative manner, you don't necessarily know where to turn to. And so since there is no representation, and I know, and I my thing with representation, where I had to get outside of myself, because I've always said, we don't need representation for XYZ, but I'm not a child. So I have to think about a child and what they look at and what they are seeing and what's being perpetrated to them. And let's look at someone like, maybe there's a young Billy Porter out there, or there's young, Black gay males who's been struggling traditionally. Now more than ever, they feel like they have a space to be themselves. And even if we're just fast forwarding into the HIV thing, this is why I think traditionally you had people being more closed about who they were. And then what were they doing? They were, having their relationships, which should be natural to them. And it is natural to them. They were having those in the dark, but in the light, they were dealing with women, right? And then so now, and they're just doing this because of pressure, right? And then, and maybe they didn't even want to deal with women in that manner, but they just felt like that's what they had to do. But now stuff like that, and of course, I don't want to be stereotypical, but that could also be a cause of the higher rates within the HIV community, especially within the Black male, both straight and gay, because you have people who are trying to live a straight lifestyle for the public, and then a different lifestyle. And then, at that point, people are being less shy about getting tested because they're saying,
I disagree with that.
So I don't need to get tested for this. So I think all of this representation, the testing, all of that kind of like, it coincides with each other at some point in time. That's why I'm like, if they want to have their representation now more than they've had before, You know, let them. I don't think.
No,
I don't think.
but that's not. But that's not what I'm saying. It's not about the represent. Okay, so it's not about the representation. It's like it's who you're targeting. Okay, so even as an organizer, when you are trying to get a message across, you target your audience, right? In politics, you target who your audience is. Why is it that the audience for the LGBTQ community awareness is always or majority targeted towards children? Why are we having these type of conversations with children? And granted, I know that there's children that identify with an LGBTQ community. And yes, should we have conversations about treating people as human beings? But when we start getting into the minutia of, well, what's a bisexual? Well, a bisexual is a man who is romantically involved with a man. Well, what is romantically involved with a man? Kids are going to ask follow-up questions. Listen, they're going to ask follow-up questions. Yes, and then but who's teaching these? But who's teaching? Because a lot of this stuff is being integrated into schools. So so I guess the conversation is: do you want educators to be teaching your kids these type of things, or do you as a parent want to be responsible for educating your children on these stuff? Because I'm telling you, I'm not a parent yet, but I wouldn't want a teacher being like, well, it's basically a man having sexual intercourse with a man. And it's like why is that the conversation that we're having? But let me go to Jesse, because I know Jesse got something. And then Soapboxx Nation, they've been chiming in, and I want to get you guys to hear their thoughts. Go ahead, Jesse.
I have mixed feelings. Me, like, as you guys know, I'm a mother to 3 boys. My oldest boy, he's 8 years old. So, like, a part of me is like, you know, a child is easily influenced. And if they're watching something and they like what they're watching, they're going to want to copy that. They're going to, you know, if they can look up to that, they're going to want to copy that. They're going to want to be that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm going to allow my child to watch this, but I'm going to watch this with my child so I can educate him. So I can let him know, okay, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to know about it regardless, whether I tell him or not, whether he sees it or not, he's going to know about it because this is what's happening in the world today. And there's other parents that are teaching their kids these things. So there's other kids that are 5, 6 years old who are knowledgeable about what the LGBT community, they know these things because their parents are educating them. So why not educate your kids? If they're going to have these questions, just let them know what's up. Like, for example, when, you know, before like LGBTQ was like a major thing where people were openly talking about it the way they do now. Like me personally, I would tell my boy that, you know, there's boy colors and there's girl colors, you know, like genders. When you're in the hospital, I don't think they do it anymore, but before they would put blue for a boy, they would put pink for a girl. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, I would tell my son, like, you know, blue is boy colors, pink is girl colors. And there was a situation where he was around another little girl and they were talking about colors, and he was like, oh, pink is a girl color. And she was like, oh, well, there's no such thing as girl colors and boy colors. And then he came to me and he brought that up to me, and it's like, okay, so now I have to educate him, because whether you want to expose your child or your children to gender roles or what's going on, what lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans is, they're gonna know, because when they go out in the world, this is realistic. This is what they see. This is the world that we live in. So it's like, okay, well, am I gonna hide this from my kid? Am I gonna try to shield them from it, or am I gonna educate them? And at the end of the day, your kid is gonna be what your kid is, period. If your kid is gay, he's gonna be gay. If your kid is a lesbian, they're gonna be a lesbian. But they're always going to be themselves. But it's so hard, because like at the same time, it's like kids are so easily influenced. So it's like, it's hard to say, like, what do you do in this type of situation? But for me personally, I know that my kid, especially my 8-year-old, like I said, I know he's already out in the world and he's hearing these things. So for me, it's like, okay, if you want to watch this movie, we'll watch this movie. But I'm going to answer every question that you have, and I'm going to educate you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what do you do from that? I don't know. But
I actually, in fairness, I watch a lot of shows with my nieces and nephews, and a lot of the shows nowadays, especially on Netflix, there's always an LGBTQ character. Like it just comes out of nowhere. Like it just be like, oh, and to a lot of my nieces and nephews, they're like, oh, okay. They don't really sweat it. But what I'm talking about is when we start talking about when getting into the minutia of, the sexual orientation. Like if they're like, oh yeah, this person like for instance, the new Punky Brewster that came out, right? She has a child. I don't know if the child was trans or non-binary or queer, but he was LGBTQ. So that was one of the conversations. Sherry, remember the black girl who was her best friend? Mm-hmm. And Punky Brewster?
No.
You don't remember? Am I dating myself right now? Because I'm talking about Punky Brewster.
No Punky Brewster.
Punky Brewster used to be my shit. Okay, but Sherry she's LGBTQ as well. If you look at the Power Rangers movie that came out, the Yellow Ranger she's LGBTQ. Like there's so many. So it's not about the representation. There's plenty of representation. There's more. I would dare say, right, that there's more LGBTQ representation out in mass media than there are for heterosexual black males. There's more of that. There's Billy Porter's everywhere, right? And then we can even talk LGBTQ, and we could talk about effeminized black males at that. They're getting more opportunities out here than it is because masculinity has been deemed toxic. Masculinity has deemed a threat, even as black men, even in corporate America. You can't be going into corporate America exuding your black masculinity like that. You'd become a target. Yes, you'd be looking for unemployment.
TJ, though,
so
here's the thing. We can't say no. Billy Porter is one black gay male actor. We can name 10 black heterosexual actors. So
no.
There's more.
No.
You just said representation.
No,
He's
what I'm saying
is one person. That's it. Just one actor. That's it. It's him.
You don't see Billy Porter everywhere. Billy Porter's on the
I know. He's one actor.
But that's design because just because they choose the one
I agree.
just because
they start saying more.
Listen. It's just because they choose the one Negro at a time rule when it comes to dominant white society, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that he ain't representing a whole bunch of. Anytime there's something going on, Billy Porter's there, or Laverne Cox, right? So there's plenty. LG go.
I agree. No.
You gotta look at polls.
But we're talking about. You said when you're saying the word more, I think that's factually incorrect.
I would say
more
socially. I would say socially acceptable.
Yes, which is completely because now you're talking about quantity.
I corrected myself. I know this is the one time I've been wrong on the podcast. I need to correct myself. It's the one time you got me. Okay.
I'll also say this though, just like in regards to the children and why they're targeting the children. Like I said, I think it's hypocritical for us to be like, yo, we're sending our kids to school for real life education. We want them to know everything about real life, and then pause when it's like, oh, but wait, you shouldn't teach that in public school because it makes me uncomfortable with same sex.
So let me
we
ask
can't
you
do
this.
that. If we want to teach everything, we got to teach everything.
No, it's a matter of preference. Let me ask you this, Alan.
Correct.
If you have children, are you comfortable having teachers, right, in the American education system teaching your kids about sexual orientation in schools?
Orientation?
Sexual orientation, sex, LGBT. Do you want them to be
generally? And anytime we're talking about orientation, we're talking about sex. Those conversations don't happen until like maybe late middle school, high school. To be honest,
wrong. These conversations.
You can't talk about religion. You can't talk about religion.
They're gearing these conversations towards. They're gearing these conversations. That's a good point, Jesse. They're gearing these conversations towards elementary school children, and that's what I'm not saying don't have the conversation. Look, I think in high school everything should be fair game. Y'all should be able to talk to it. But when we talk about the basics, why are we having a say? Like, why?
I don't know. I don't know how. It's been a while. I don't know how. So how are they breaking down traditionally? How are they breaking down?
These kids
how are they breaking down heterosexual relationships?
Listen,
they're not.
They're not.
That would be my question.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I feel like, okay, so let's just say they don't talk about a person's sex, male or female, and from pre-K all the way up to like middle school or whatever. Let's just say that they don't, because of some rules. It is regulated, like you have to go through the parent. But what schools are doing now is, and not even schools, but what society is doing now is they're trying to milk the situation into conversation. So instead of talking about being gay, what we're going to do is create a movie primarily for children
to indoctrinate
show you what it looks like, to show you what it looks like. In other words, what they would describe as to be who you really are, to be your true self. And that is the message that I feel like is being promoted for the LGBTQ, as if everybody, not even everybody, but as if you don't have the conversation about being gay or possibly or whatever, then it's not embracing your true self. Like in elementary, for an example, in preschool, there was this whole debate about this little boy who took a picture in a tutu, 3 years old, tutu with a little fairy thing. Yeah. And the parents were upset. But the classroom told the parents that was the outfit he chose, and we're letting the children be who they truly are. But at 1, 2, and 3 years old, it is our job as adults to teach children who they really are, which is what they were born into in this world, unless there are some genetics or, something that may be off or whatever. Like TJ was saying, I'm not really getting into the whole genetic part of it. Yeah. But if you were born male and female, I do feel like it is a responsibility that we keep it. That's what we teach until they are of age to make their own decisions about embracing other things or relationships. Yeah,
that's a different conversation.
I do have one question. I want to let's get to some of the Soapboxx. They've been chiming in, okay? So we had Amy Robinson says she's agreed. Shout out to Chris, as TJ speaking big facts. Shout out to Chris. Big fan of you, Chris. Big fan. Again, Tyleem said, I agree. As a father to a 4-year-old young man, this is a conversation I would prefer to have with him when he can actually process the information properly. Lisa, okay, somebody else read that because I didn't have that. I'll read that.
Children have to assess their level of understanding and go from there. My daughter is 9. She's been exposed to kids with 2 moms and kids with 2 dads. She doesn't ask about it. She just knows that some women love other women, and same for men. I think we as adults impose our own level of understanding on children unnecessarily and untimely. And I agree with Lisa. And that's what I feel. I agree with Lisa. But what I'm saying, I agree with Lisa. But what I'm saying is even if a child does see Billy Porter dressed up like a tooth fairy, whatever, and we would describe that in pre-K school as him embracing who he truly is. Cool, let's leave it at that. But me as a parent, it's my responsibility that my child knows that he's a boy.
Okay. And that's I don't have no problem with parents teaching their kids anything, right? Because my thing is, listen, we've been getting sent to these schools telling us Christopher Columbus was the hero of America for the last 400 years, and it wasn't all of this outrage until 10 years ago. Because why? You can come home and you can get the real education. So the same way that you don't know, or maybe you even do know what the schools and the curriculum is teaching your kids, ultimately that's your responsibility, right? It's your everybody thinks that and agrees with that, right? But also, and this is a question I'll ask too, I don't have numbers. Do we think that any of this has to do with the fact of maybe in that community that they have expressed that people that are older and maybe in our age, that when they were coming up, one, they didn't have these conversations because they weren't having them in school, and the ones that they were having at home were maybe toxic, and 2, they didn't have any quote unquote representation. So that led to a lot of kids, quote unquote, suppressing themselves, and also growing up with just not being themselves and having mental issues and XYZ. Do we feel like maybe this is society trying to, quote unquote, maybe rectify itself a little bit? Maybe it's overcompensation. I don't think so, but there has to be some sort of ramifications when people who feel like they can't be themselves, especially as a child, because you don't know right from wrong at that point. You only know what the media is showing.
So what does that even really mean? Like, to not be yourself as a child if you don't know right from wrong. So if you don't know right,
but you know who you are, though, right?
It's not really about being right or wrong. It's I feel like, okay, I guess
right and wrong is probably the wrong phrase. But who you are at your core, right?
Well, yeah, who you are at your core. But even deeper than that, the root of how people get to that core. And I think that even whether you're heterosexual or homosexual, a lot of it is what you experience, how you grow up, and what you visually see. Some people, what you have gone through, if maybe you could have been raped or abused, or maybe you watched a porno when you was 5 years old that you should have never been watching, and it was two men kissing men, and that stuck with you. Like, I'm just saying.
So that's a different conversation. So now we're getting into the
conversation, right?
No, it's the same conversation. No, it's whatever you're exposing children, whatever you're exposing children to.
Well, she said
it's the same conversation. It's the same conversation, and I'm not equating LGBTQ awareness to violence, but it's the same conversation of if you are exposing children to certain imagery on television or in movies or in video games, they're going to be impressionable. Is that not? But the thing is, the LGBTQ community, they have safe spaces. It's particularly Atlanta is like, especially in the Black community. Atlanta ain't a safe space for the LGBT community, Black LGBTQ community. I don't know what is. We got Black LGBTQ people in the churches all across this country. Right? Yeah. That's another conversation we can have.
And so I always just keep saying, go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I just don't like the fact that, especially when we have conversations when we're telling them like little Black children or even in the Black community. And I think that was said tonight is like, well, the Black community is where they're homophobic. There's no safe spaces. Like, yo, if you are in mass media, even what we're talking about right now, there's some people that might be touched by this. But if you're on the mainstream media, we're independent media. But if you're a mainstream media outlet, most of these executives have LGBTQ people within their families, or they're LGBTQ themselves. I got LGBTQ people in my family. You see what I'm saying? So it's a but when we're talking about children and we're talking about sex, I'm not saying, if you're LGBTQ community, you shouldn't play with that kid. You should discriminate. They shouldn't get housing. They shouldn't get jobs. Fuck no. I am not saying that, and I'll never say that. I've never said anything like that. But that's where people take it. And I think when people have preferences on what their children are being exposed to, it automatically turns into a conversation as if you are anti-LGBTQ community, and I just don't agree with that. I don't think that. Oh, and Amy Robinson says, as a middle school teacher, I literally see kids change their sexuality almost every day. It's based on what's trending. Yeah, kids are.
Wait, hold on. Changing sexuality, like they're having sex with different genders. Sexuality has to do with sex. Let's not equate like they start dressing different with sexuality. I would like that. Like, are they kissing men one day and women one day? Like, when we say
she's a middle school teacher, so I'm sure she's not talking about kissing, but I'm sure that one day they'll say,
sexuality.
Could be kissing.
I mean, it could be kissing. It could be a lot of things in middle school. Right.
Giovanni's so southern. Could be kissing now. They could be. They could be over there behind the bleachers necking. I know it. They could be necking. Back in my day. Go ahead, Jesse.
I don't know. Like I said, with this topic, it's very controversial, and it's like there's many different there are many different perspectives, and I also like I feel like it's also like I don't know, it's just a lack of like awareness or education. And I just want to bring up like a situation where I personally had where my child was playing with, because there's like there's a lot of, I don't even know how to say it, but kids are exposed to a lot. And I realized that, and I personally, I have taken away the iPad from my child. I'm like, you cannot use this iPad for a while unless like I'm watching what you're doing, because there's YouTube that they watch, like all these different types of shows. There's Roblox, where you will be surprised like what you see on Roblox and what kids are doing like on Roblox. And I remember a situation where my kid was playing with one of his friends, and one of his friends was like, oh, pretend that you're gay, like pretend that you're gay. And like, like I didn't say anything. Like I stood quiet. And like when he was done talking to his friend, like I called him into the kitchen, and like I had a conversation with him. And then like I asked him if he knew what that meant. And then I asked him like if he thought that he was that. And he was like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, well, for me, like this is like, like, well, how do I handle this? Because I've never had a situation like this. And then like maybe like 2 weeks later, he wanted one of my rings, and he was asking me, oh, is this how you spell this girl's name? Because he wanted to give like a gift to this girl that he liked in school. So for me, it's like he's like confused, because it's like he's exposed to one thing, right? He's hearing things from like his peers. He's seeing things on TV and the games that he's exposed to. But does that mean that's who he is, or like or is he influenced? You know what I'm saying? Because like 2 weeks later, you're telling me that you have a crush on this girl, and that's what you know. That's what you know that you like. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you're being exposed to other things. So it's like, do I like that? Like everybody makes it seem like it's okay. So do I like that? I don't know. It's so weird, because like you have right there, raising children in 2021, like it's so different than like back in the day. And like, I don't know, like me as a mother to 3 boys, I feel like I have to be educated. I have to be educated on what I learn. I have to be educated on what I teach them. I have to be educated on so many different things, so I can teach them. I don't know. It's so hard. Because like these 3 boys, it's like, how do you do it? Like, how do you educate them in the right way? Like, you want your kids to be their true selves, and you want your kids to come to you with anything and everything. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like, you don't want them to be influenced. You don't want them to become something that deep down inside they're really not. Or like, but then again, it's like, are they? I don't know. It's like, it's crazy.
I think that's the good thing about all of this. Is because that parents are like being forced to have these conversations. And I don't think that was always the case, for real.
Right.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. But I know. Speaking of exposure, you're talking to somebody who was expelled from K1 or a preschool. I know it was K1. It was before I was in first grade.
Talking about K1.
So the kids are impressionable. Yeah, because I was under. Listen, okay, I'll get to
what is K1? You was 1 year old?
Kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2. It's K1, K2. Do we not still have that?
I never was in that.
Yeah, nah. I think I was like, it was pre-K, and it was K5, and then it was first grade.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it
depends
Boston,
on where you live.
It's K. Yeah, so basically K1 is pre-K, and then it's So basically, So I was young back then. But anyway, kids are impressionable. We were all playing on the playground. And one of the girls, I think she was either in first grade or second grade, she said something to me about penis, right? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I got one of those. So she was like, let me see it. And I said, sure. So I went, but under the little, the little big slide thing or whatever, it was this second grader or first grade black girl and this white girl, and they were like, let me see your stuff. So everybody had called everybody in for recess, and then now there's 3 children missing, and so I done whipped my dingling out under the playground. And my mom was pissed because I was the one that got in trouble. They made me eat my soup and cheese sandwich over at a table by myself, like I was quarantined by myself.
Oh my goodness.
And then they have my mom come and pick me up as if I was some sort of a predator or something. Because
so you got caught?
What do you mean I got caught? I didn't think I was, at that point in time, I didn't know it was something I was supposed to keep private. Like, yo, she's like, yo, I want to see your hang dang. So I was like, shit, here you go.
What y'all was doing in Boston, man? What was
Hey, it was a wild time.
The thing is, we got to stop making it up about old kids. And maybe that could be for some parents, but my child is 3 years old, about to be 4 years old, and he knows the difference between a costume and somebody wearing the real thing, what they wearing outside. He know it ain't no costume. And so I just wanted to put that out there. If he saw a female with a dildo, he's not gonna think that's a costume. He's gonna be like, "Oh, mommy, that girl has something. That lady got what I got. Why does that lady have that too?"
I mean, technically, a dildo is a costume, no?
Huh?
What?
Technically, dildo is a costume, no?
No, a dildo is a tool. It's a sex toy.
It's a costume, man.
Costume.
Thing.
But exactly,
What are you talking about?
You can wear it. It's not yours.
I've never sat there and heard anybody say a dildo is a costume.
It's an accessory piece.
It's not. You know what an accessory piece is? A handbag. That's an accessory piece. Yeah. A dildo is a sex toy. It ain't no damn costume.
It's an accessory. Sexcessory.
Okay, yeah, well, whatever you want to call it. Kids are smart. And like Jesse was saying, they catch on, they see stuff on YouTube. If they see a zombie, they start acting like a zombie. If they see if they're playing Grand Theft Auto, they walk around Walmart saying bop bop boop brrr, I'll shoot up this whole place. Like, that's the real truth. And I'm just like, we gotta be, kids be like, oh, mommy, it's a costume, but I mean, I don't want them to continue to watch it so much to where they want to wear the costume. Yeah. Of course, I want my child to embrace who he is and be authentically himself, but I don't think that he needs to be having that option at 3 years old. At 3 years old, I'm buying your clothes. And
so one more question before we close out, right? Because I do think that this question here.
Well, I want to get to the Kwame Brown topic, and I know I'm gonna have to change the title of the episode because I didn't want to cut anybody off because we had a good conversation.
And I think this question, and I know we can't elaborate, but we're not. But I think this question will actually kind of give a lot more context to this whole conversation. So I'll ask both of you guys: do you think sexuality at its core can be taught permanently? Like, do you feel that you can learn it and it's not born in you? Yes or no?
Yes. That's even for adults.
Okay.
Yeah. That's even for adults. Yeah. Sometimes even as adults.
That's an LGBTQ community. They'd be like, yo, I'm gonna turn this person out. They may be straight, but that's a term they use. That's a term they use.
You gotta really know you gotta spiritually in yourself, your soul. I feel like sometimes you have to, figure out what you want to do, what do you want to embrace, how do you, is that a certain area where you really want to live in that place? Even like if we go all the way back to Andrew Gillum, like we don't know how long he had been dealing with being gay. But for him to actually come out and say it means that he truly wants to own that as a person. Like, yes, I do want to date men too.
But he's married. He's married though. Like, that's different.
I'm just saying in general that sometimes if you are not for sure of yourself and your identity, any type of love can be welcoming. Any type of sex can be welcoming. Anything that feels good can be welcoming. And that's something that you have to be able to decipher between, because you could close your eyes and probably get the same pleasure from a man and a woman without you knowing. And it can feel good, I'm saying. And so when you take that blindfold off, then you have to ask yourself that question. Is it just the pleasure that I want because I don't really care who I get it from? Or am I, I'm strictly man, I'm strictly women. Like, I'm just saying it's a lot. It's not just like, oh, no, sexual orientation can be taught. Yes, it can be. You could be hella straight one day and hella gay the next.
But you know what? Oh, I thought Jesse. I thought she was breastfeeding for a second. I was like, I panicked. I was like, oh, I don't know if she knows she's on camera. Oh man, wow.
I'm done.
I would have been. Listen, okay, because you know what? For all those, I know we started with the Kwame Brown, but for those who are gonna listen to us on the streaming services, we're gonna cut that part. We're going to cut that part because I think this is a conversation that we could have went a lot longer on when it comes to the LGBTQ conversation, when it comes to children. So we're going to change up the title of this episode because I didn't want to cut the conversation short because I really believe we were getting a lot of different perspectives. One last thing, and then we could go to moral of the story. I also don't like what I don't like about the Billy Porter and the fairy godmother. And I know what fairy godmothers are not really real, tooth fairy and all that stuff is not really real. But the fact is, like, I don't like how we are devaluing what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a mother, right? So much so that you can just say, well, I just identify, I'm just a mother. It's so much more than that. And so when someone says, well, this man, I know he's a man, right? Regardless of his sexual orientation, because I don't even know if they're going to even say, well, I'm a fairy godmother and my sexual orientation, but I'm a man and I don't even think they're going to go deep into that in the movie. Yeah, they're just going to say, I'm a fairy godmother. But your children have been looking like, but that's a guy, that's a dude, right?
It may not even be that name anymore.
I was going to say, they're probably going to change that.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I saw the article and it said that that's the role he's going to play. So as a big J journalist, that's what I'm going by. I'm going based upon the facts that have been reported that Billy Porter is playing the fairy godmother. That's what he's slated to be playing. And I don't think that he is,
we should wait and see for that because
but what I will say, okay, yeah, we'll wait and see for that. But I just think that the conversation, even when we're talking about gender identity and stuff like that, like being a woman is so much more than just like, and I don't like equating LGBTQ and black at all. Like I'm not with that whole like, well, it's just like being black. No. That I don't like saying. I don't like doing that shit at all, and I get really offended when folks do that. But what I will say is when people talk about when Rachel Dolezal could just tell people one day, well, I'm black and I'm a black, just to get whatever benefits or whatever, that becomes a problem. That for me at least, it becomes a problem. So, but listen, we have some more comments from Soapbox Nation. Shout out to Soapbox Nation coming through. Shout out to the Robinsons, which also the Robinsons should be a podcast, by the way. It should be a podcast or at least a YouTube channel. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Shout out to our folks over at the Multiverse and the New Blurred Order. I actually wrote an article about the New Blurred Order and their live show that was featuring the Orlando Sentinel. So you guys can go over here and check in the Sentinel and check that out. Or you can go to our IG page, Soapboxx Podcast with 2X, Soapboxx Podcast with 2X. Hey, every like, every share, every comment, even if it's stuff that you disagree with us about, like it's all appreciated. Like we are growing organically. We're not trying to, by likes, I can, maybe there's be a new calendar somewhere. I don't know. For me, maybe we'll do something to up the sex appeal to get more likes. Who knows? But we are trying to grow our channel organically. So we're in it for the long haul. So we appreciate everything that you guys do when you're sharing. I know we got a lot of impressions on the article that I did about the gun violence here in Orlando, probably over 6,000 impressions where people were sharing it and engaging with that article. So, everybody's got their individual brands and the things that we're doing. So we're promoting those things individually, but as a collective, being here on the Soapbox, we thank you as we are vastly approaching episode 100 of the Soapboxx Podcast, which, it's a feat in itself because most people don't make it past 4 to 6 months as a podcast. And we are June 10th is our official 2-year launch of the actual Soapboxx Podcast. So we are, would that make the podcast Gemini? That would be fitting. Are we Geminis? Yes. The podcast is a Gemini. The podcast is a Gemini. And so is Giovanni. Giovanni's the nicest Gemini I ever met. I just don't want to meet the other side of Giovanni because then that might be a problem. But we're gonna start with you first. Giovanni, what's your moral of the story?
Hey y'all. First off, of course, you can follow me at Just Giovanni, JUSTJAVONNI. I try at least to be your constant motivator and uplifter, helping you find your purpose, passion, and goals in life. But on another note, the moral of the story for the Soapboxx Podcast is to be true to who you are, but make sure that that truth is not influenced by other people.
Love it. Love it. That's good food right there. Good food right there. I'm gonna get Jesse every time I look at Jesse, I'm like, yo, you're on camera. Alan, what's your moral of the story, player?
Yo, the moral of the story is two things. One, y'all make sure y'all follow all of my co-hosts, man. And then two, teach your children, man. Teach your children. You cannot lean on formal education. You can't lean on TV. You can't lean on radio. The kids are going to be exposed to everything under the sun. And then at this point, very few things that you can control. But what you can't control is that one-on-one conversation and that education that you give them. So keep them under the wing, hold them tight, and wash your hands, man.
Word. Jesse, what
First of all, I don't know what Alan just said because on my end, he sounded like a transformer. I swear. It was like...
Yeah, he was very sultry with it. You know, he was very like...
I didn't get to... No, I'm serious. I really didn't get to hear anything he said because that's how it sounded. I don't know if it's something on my end.
It's okay. The show's recorded. You can hear it back.
So funny. That's so funny.
What's your moral of the story, Jesse?
My moral of the story is educate your kids because they're going to be exposed to things whether you want them to be or not. So just educate them. And also, ladies, please. I know we're living in a different time right now, but do not forget about girl code, okay? Unless your girlfriend gives you the blessing to date somebody that she messed with, he's off limits. Like, we got like millions and millions of people in this world. Like, shorty, like, I'm sure you can find somebody else. Period.
Word. All right. And my moral of the story is this. Look, we got a long way to go to make sure that we are in an inclusive space in this country, right? But I think that having conversations like this are healthy, right? And so we need to have more people who are within the LGBTQ community. Come on. And if we're wrong and you disagree with our position, please, by all means, you have the platform so that we can have this healthy discourse. What I don't like is that anybody who doesn't agree with certain things that are in the media when it pertains to LGBTQ communities or people, that you're automatically deemed as you're anti-LGBTQ, which is not the case. So I think if we're going to have real and authentic conversations as adults, then we need to be able to do so without feeling like you have to censor yourself. But when it comes to children, yeah, children are impressionable. You get your core personality, I think, from 0 to 5. And so I don't think that a lot of these, the images or these things should be geared towards children. I think there are some conversations left for parents. But as a Soapboxx Podcast, we want to make sure that you are speaking as if the world is listening and you are stepping up on the Soapboxx Podcast. So please, if you are in the LGBTQ community, whether you're a trans, gender person, bisexual, lesbian, gay, am I getting all the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer? And I know there's other identifiers within the community. And you want a platform, please. Let's have these constructive conversations, nice. and maybe we will learn. Maybe we'll learn more. So look, we are open for business, right? We've already talked about the conversation when it comes to Palestine and Israel. We're talking about the LGBTQ community. We're talking about their LGBTQ awareness and when it pertains to children. We're going to keep, we aren't shying away. Our tagline, in the song, you heard the song, that's Alan performing for those who are new to the show. That's Alan, on that track for our intro, by the way. Welcome to the Soapbox. We are not afraid to talk about anything, any and everything. And so we pride ourselves on our versatility. And we want to hear from you, Soapbox Nation. So please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are getting some more subscriptions. They're coming in, right? And make sure you follow us on Instagram. Listen to us on all of our stations and all of our streaming services. For those who are looking forward to the Kwame Brown conversation, maybe maybe Al and I, we were supposed to record last week. Maybe we could do something quick about the Kwame Brown situation on IG or something like that. Who knows? But hey, thank y'all for supporting the Soapbox Podcast. We appreciate you all. And let me do a sign off. For Alan, for Jesse, for Giovanni, we are the Soap. Oh, what was that? Did the baby say something?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
For Alan, Giovanni, Jesse, and TJ Legacy. Hey, we are the Soapbox Podcast. Yeah. Peace out. We out.
Anything. Tell them what we talking about. Anything. Tell them what we talking about. Anything. Anything. Welcome to the Soapbox. Welcome to the Soapbox. Welcome to the Soapbox.